Hello, 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 hello. It's me. It's Miss Checka on the hottest day in the whole universe. July, summertime, Texas. Woohoo! Let me hear in the chat box if you want more first chapters or you want to dive into a book. I'm just gonna show you some of the options of books. The Secret of Platform 13. Oh, hello, Tess. Do you want more first chapters or do you want to dive into a book? Stargirl. Which other ones appeal to me? Actually, it's long, but I would totally get a kick out of reading The Golden Compass. What is this? Brain Camp? You still don't know. Okay. Looking for Me? Look at that. Has little Matryoshka dolls. Oh, it says Looking for Me in This Great Big Family. So maybe, oh, this is in poetry. This is a book in verse. You know I love books in verse. Okay. One of 12 siblings growing up in Depression-era Baltimore, 11-year-old Just Plain Edith, number 4, isn't quite sure of who she is. Between working at her father's diner, taking care of her younger siblings, and living in the shadow of her more mature sisters, she feels she is lost in a sea of siblings. Edith's story, told in verse, is filled with the joy, pain, humor, and sadness of an immigrant family pursuing the American dream and a young girl figuring out how she belongs. I'm not gonna lie, I love poetry. I love books in verse. I'm gonna put this on the maybe pile. Okay. Okay. Oh, you know what? I meant to bring out Anne of Green Gables. And I forgot. A Single Blue Shard. Okay, nobody's telling me anything in the chat window. So I'm going to do a little bit of Stargirl, just so we know what it's about. And maybe a little bit of Look for Me. Okay. Stargirl. Porcupine Necktie. That's what this chapter is called. When I was little, my Uncle Pete had a necktie with a porcupine painted on it. I thought that necktie was just about the neatest thing in the world. Uncle Pete would stand patiently before me while I ran my fingers over the silky surface, half expecting to be stuck by one of the quills. Once, he let me wear it. I kept looking for one of my own, but I could never find one. I was 12 when we moved from Pennsylvania to Arizona. When Uncle Pete came to say goodbye, he was wearing the tie. I thought he did so to give me one last look at it, and I was grateful. But then, with a dramatic flourish, he whipped off the tie and draped it around my neck. "It's yours," he said, "going away present." I love that porcupine tie. Oh, try and say that 2 times fast. Porcupine tie? It's very hard to say because my mouth keeps wanting to say porcupine pie. Okay, I love that porcupine tie so much that I decided to start a collection. 2 years after we settled in Arizona, the number of ties in my collection was still 1. Where do you find a porcupine necktie in Micah, Arizona, or anywhere else for that matter? On my 14th birthday, I read about myself in the local newspaper. The family section ran a regular feature about kids on their birthdays, and my mother had called in some info. The last sentence read, "As a hobby, Leo Borlaug collects porcupine neckties." Several days later, coming home from school, I found a plastic bag on our front step. Inside was a gift wrap package tied with a yellow ribbon. The tag said, "Happy birthday." So I opened the package. It was a porcupine necktie. 2 porcupines were tossing darts with their quills, while a third was picking its teeth. I inspected the box, the tag, the paper. Nowhere could I find the giver's name. I asked my parents. I asked my friends. I asked my Uncle Pete. Everyone denied knowing anything about it. At the time, I simply considered the episode a mystery. It did not occur to me that I was being watched. We were all being watched. Hey, that's a pretty good beginning to the book. Tess is saying here in the chat box, she doesn't like answering questions that have multiple answers. That's fair. That's fair. Okay, I'm going to do a little bit of this one because, as I said, I love books in verse. I love poetry. Okay. So we already know from reading the back of the book that this girl comes from an immigrant family. I'm going to guess from Russia or somewhere in Eastern Europe because of the Matryoshka dolls. By the way, oh, you know what? After I finish reading a little bit of this, I might go grab, I have little tiny Matryoshka dolls from Poland, from when I went to Poland. The inside cover has this black and white picture of a girl. So I'm going to make a little inference that probably this is set not in modern times. Okay. First poem says, Edith of no special place. I'm just plain Edith. I'm number 4. And should anyone care, I'm 11 years old with curly black hair, squeezed between 2 brothers, Daniel and Ray, lost in a crowd. Will I ever be more than just plain Edith, who's number 4? And my overcrowded family, I'm just another face. I'm just plain Edith of no special place. Always one more. I saw these wooden nesting dolls in a store. The kind where you don't know how many dolls there are altogether until you start opening them up. And there's always one more inside, sort of like my family. And I'm going to show you the poem. The text gets smaller and smaller as it goes down. Tess says, sort of like Stargirl. Me too. Yeah, me too. Family portrait, Baltimore, 1936. So that kind of answers our question/guess about when this book is set, 1936. Guess what's happening in 1936? I'll tell you what's happening. That's right before World War II. So there were many immigrants in the US that were coming from Europe to get away from Hitler. We're lined up. Girl, boy, girl, boy, girl, boy, girl, boy, girl, boy. And then in the middle of us all, Dad, who ordered us to smile right before the brownie clicked. Brownie was an old-fashioned kind of camera. Standing stiff as a soldier, no smile on his face. And Mom's beside him, a baby in her arms, and in her rounded belly, another one, just a trace. Inspector Bubby. When Mom goes to the hospital to have this new baby, us older kids watch the younger ones and keep the house clean. We think we're doing okay until Dad's mother, Bubby Ann, comes over and runs her finger across the top of the china cabinet that we couldn't even reach, just to show us the dust that we've left behind. Okay, so now we know, because she calls her grandma Bubby, that she's Jewish. There goes that theory. Nobody asked my opinion about having another sister or brother, but if someone had, I would have asked for another little sister, even though I was sure this new baby in Mom's belly had to be a boy. How could I be so sure? Because the last girl she had was my sister Annette. Sometime after Annette came along, Mom collapsed and Dad rushed her to the hospital where they took her out of one of her ovaries, part of her baby making equipment, Bubby Ann told us. So my sisters and I thought it must have been the girl making one, because since the surgery, Mom has had nothing but boys. My brothers, Lenny, Melvin, Saul, and Jack. But now this baby in Mom's belly turned out to be Sherry. And that's the end of our ovary story. Now we're even. Maybe Mom and Dad wanted one last one to even things up. With 6 boys and now 6 girls, maybe they're done. I guess there's really no way of knowing, but I sure hope our family's all done growing. Some people don't understand about a big family. My friends Connie and Eunice love coming to my house. To them, it seems like we're always having a party. But I'd rather go to their houses where there's room to move around without bumping into anybody and you never have to stand in line to use the bathroom. I wonder what it would be like to sleep by myself in this bed that holds 3, with all of the covers to cover just me, to spread my arms wide and lie at a slant with no other bodies to say that I can't, to lie on a pillow, no feet in my face. I'd lie awake nights just feeling the space, keeping the days straight. Since it's summertime and we aren't back in school yet, I keep forgetting what day it is. So my brother Raymond teaches me the trick of checking what mom's making for dinner. Mondays are milkcake, Tuesdays liver, Wednesdays are macaroni casserole days, Thursdays are meat, and Fridays we eat a Shabbos feast of chicken, chopped liver, and soup. Saturdays we have what's left, and Sundays Dad brings home deli. So the day of the week all depends on what's inside of my belly. Why can't summer last forever? Summer means we're outside trying to cool off. So my little brother Melvin grabs my hand and we run by the garden hose that mom's waving around. We scream with glee as she hoops and sprays us with its misty breath. Summer means trips to the shore with Dad, where we all play tag with the waves and build castles in the sand, and then on the way home stop for kosher dogs, lathered with mustard like shaving cream on a man's face. Summer means matinees at the Roxy Theater on weekdays, not just weekends, and taking my brothers and sisters to the park to play dodgeball and horseshoes and hum in the kazoo band. Why can't summer last forever? Okay, I think that is a good stopping place to get a taste of that book. Not bad. I liked it. In fact, I'm going to mark where we left off there in case we decide to read it. Anne of Avonlea, I love it, but that's not the first one in the series. The first one in the series is Anne of Green Gables, which is a book that I loved so much when I was a kid that I made my parents drive me to Canada from Texas so I could see where the book was set. Okay. I'm going to read a little bit of Golden Compass. And then, for sure, for a certainty, on Monday, we are going, because today's Friday, right? I think we're going to start reading the Dancing Home book. And then since Tess liked it, we can read Stargirl after that. Okay, I'm going to give you a little taste of Golden Compass because I like it. All right, so this is chapter 1, and this is called The Decanter of Tokay. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's Tokay. Lyra and her demon moved through the darkening hall, taking care to keep to one side, out of sight of the kitchen. The 3 great tables that ran the length of the hall were laid already, the silver and the glass catching what little light there was, and the long benches were pulled out ready for the guests. Portraits of former masters hung high up in the gloom along the walls. Lyra reached the dais and looked back at the open kitchen door. Ooh, we just had the word dais in A Wrinkle in Time, so we know that it means platform. And seeing no one, stepped up beside the high table. The places here were laid with gold, not silver, and the 14 seats were not oak benches, but mahogany chairs with velvet cushions. I can tell you, one of the reasons that I like this book is because it is set in a fictional version of Oxford University, which is a very, very old university in England. It's like 1,000 years old. And one of the things about Oxford is that, like, what she is describing there is their school cafeteria, except their school cafeteria is their like dining halls that have wood all around. And then the students eat at long tables with benches at them. And then facing it is a high table that's literally higher up, and it's usually a little nicer, and then that's where the professors and sort of the important people sit. You also have to dress up for a high table, which I don't always love, but it's fun. Lyra stopped beside the master's chair and flicked the biggest glass gently with the fingernail. The sound rang clearly through the hall. "You're not taking this seriously," whispered her demon. "Behave yourself." Her demon's name was Pantalaimon. I think that's how you pronounce it. I might have to double check. And he was currently in the form of a moth, a dark brown one, so as not to show up in the darkness of the hall. "They're making too much noise to hear from the kitchen," Lyra whispered back, "and the steward doesn't come in till the first bell. Stop fussing." But she put her palm over the ringing crystal anyway, and Pantalaimon fluttered ahead and through the slightly open door of the retiring room at the other end of the dais. After a moment, he appeared again. "There's no one there," he whispered, "but we must be quick." Crouching behind the high table, Lyra darted along and through into the retiring room, where she stood up and looked around. The only light in here came from the fireplace, where a bright blaze of logs settled slightly as she looked, sending a fountain of sparks up into the chimney. She had lived most of her life in the college, but she had never seen the retiring room before. Only scholars and their guests were allowed in here, and never females. Even the maidservants didn't clean in here. That was the butler's job alone. Pantalaimon settled on her shoulder. "Happy now? Can we go?" he whispered. "Don't be silly. I want to look around." It was a large room with an oval table of polished rosewood on which stood various decanters and glasses, and a silver smoking stand with a rack of pipes. On a sideboard nearby, there was a little chafing dish and a basket of poppy heads. "They do themselves well, don't they, Pan?" she said under her breath. She sat in one of the green leather armchairs. It was so deep, she found herself nearly lying down, but she sat up again and tucked her legs under her to look at the portraits on the walls. More old scholars, probably, robed, bearded, and gloomy. They stared out of their frames in solemn disapproval. "What do you think they talk about?" Lyra said, or began to say, because before she'd finished the question, she heard voices outside the door. "Behind the chair, quick," whispered Pantalaimon. And in a flash, Lyra was out of the armchair and crouching behind it. It wasn't the best one for hiding behind. She'd chosen one in the very center of the room, and unless she kept very quiet, the door opened, the light changed in the room. One of the incomers was carrying a lamp, which he put down on the sideboard. Lyra could see his legs and their dark green trousers and shiny black shoes. It was a servant. Then a deep voice said, "Has Lord Asriel arrived yet?" It was the master. As Lyra held her breath, she saw the servant's demon, a dog, like all the servant's demons, trot in and sit quietly at his feet. And then the master's feet became visible too in the shabby black shoes he always wore. "No, master," said the butler. "No word from the aerodock either." "I expect he'll be hungry when he arrives. Show him straight into the hall, will you?" "Very good, master." "And you've decanted some of the special Tokay for him?" "Oh, yes, master. The 1898, as you ordered. His lordship is very partial to that, I remember." "Good. Now, leave me, please." "Do you need the lamp, master?" "Yes, leave that too. Look in during dinner to trim it, will you?" The butler bowed slightly and turned to leave, his demon trotting obediently after him. From her not much of a hiding place, Lyra watched as the master went to a large oak wardrobe in this corner of the room, took his gown from a hanger, and put it laboriously on. The master had been a powerful man, but he was well over 70 now, and his movements were stiff and slow. The master's demon had the form of a raven, and as soon as his robe was on, she jumped down from the wardrobe and settled in her accustomed place over his right shoulder. Lyra could feel Pantalaimon bristling with anxiety, although he made no sound. For herself, she was pleasantly excited. The visitor mentioned by the master, Lord Asriel, was her uncle, a man she admired and feared greatly. He was said to be involved in high politics, in secret exploration, in distant warfare, and she never knew when he was going to appear. He was fierce. If he caught her in there, she'd be severely punished, but she could put up with that. The master took from his pocket a folded paper and laid it on the table beside the wine. He took the stopper out of the mouth of the decanter containing a rich golden wine, unfolded the paper, and poured a stream of white powder into the decanter before crumpling the paper and throwing it in the fire. Then he took a pencil from his pocket, stirred the wine until the powder had dissolved, and replaced the stopper. So, in other words, he just put something in there. He put something in the guy's drink. His demon gave a soft, brief squawk. The master replied in an undertone and looked around with his hooded, clouded eyes before leaving the door through which he'd come in by. Lyra whispered, "Did you see that, Pan?" "Of course I did. Now hurry out before the steward comes." But as he spoke, there came the sound of a bell ringing once from the far end of the hall. "That's the steward's bell," said Lyra. "I thought we had more time than that." We're out of time. So Lyra hides and sees the headmaster of this college pouring something into a drink before the mysterious visitor gets there. Dun, dun, dun. Oh, excuse me. Anyway, this is a fun week of doing first chapters. I like that. So, like I said, I think our next two will be this one, because we seem to like that one, and Stargirl, because Tess liked it. Okay. I will see you guys. Be good. Eat your fruits and vegetables and plenty of water, because it's very hot out there. Bye, guys.